I was like driving around my neighborhood actually listening to really sad songs and like crying in the car, and I got home and I was like, maybe I'll write a song about this.
So, we've all heard the song, right?
Got my driver's license last week, something we always talked about.
But on the off chance you're both incredibly offline but somehow watching this video without knowing, the song in question is Driver's License by 17-year-old High School Musical sensation Olivia Rodrigo.
You said forever, now I drive alone past your street.
Everyone's talking about this song.
Sounds like it's just some teen girl singing in a room to a piano.
And that's the beauty of it. You got a problem?
Gen Z is absolutely loving it, making unhinged TikToks and passionately dissecting its lyrics. Millennials are loving it too, save for the few people who are saying they don't get it, which I think really establishes the generational divide.
I'm not trying to get canceled by saying something negative, but it's actually a fact.
And for the record, we millennials at Flash Thrive are 100% pro driver's license. Mainstream media is calling Olivia Rodrigo an overnight sensation, and that's not technically wrong, but also not technically right. Olivia has been singing, dancing, and acting her whole life, and before starring in High School Musical, the series, she was one of the leads on Bizaardvark, a Disney Channel show I only know about because I followed the Jake Paul Team 10 drama way too closely.
Heyo, I'm Jake Paul from Bizaardvark, and you're watching
Stop bragging, just accept nobody knows your Disney show.
But the bottom line is,
I've been writing original music since I could speak. I just never showed anyone ever until recently.
this incredibly talented, young singer-songwriter released her debut single on January 8th, 2021. And a week later, it became the biggest song in the world.
It's #1 in the world on like all streaming platforms and like breaking all these records, but it's like, I haven't left my house.
The question lots of people are asking is, yes, the song is a heart-wrenching gut punch of teen heartbreak mixed with an invigorating kick drum beat, paired with Olivia's heavenly vocals and angelic falsetto. It's all around a great piece of pop music, but as we know, sometimes the #1 song in the country isn't the one that's the most well-composed or well-sung.
I'm not fucking playing closer.
So I want to answer the question, why do we love driver's license? And of course, there's a short answer, which is, it's a certified bop. Like, literally certified double platinum. But the long answer takes us down a bit of a road trip through the history of teen pop music. Oh, and just a note, this is not a video about the alleged love triangle between 3 Disney Channel stars, nor is this a video about the virality of TikTok and how a children's dancing app is single-handedly changing the entire music industry, for better or for worse.
I need a bad sleep.
This video is about the history of the music that came before this, that allowed driver's license to become as big as it is today. So buckle up, kids, because we're going for a drive. A history of cars, teenagers, and suburban sadness. And in that moment, I swear we were in. If this clip triggers a violent emotional response within you, you have been identified as a 2010s Tumblr veteran, and you may be entitled to financial compensation for psychological damages caused by aesthetic accounts, soft grunge blogs, Glee role-playing AUs, standing Lana Del Rey, shopping at American Apparel, and getting bullied by anons in your ask box. Jokes aside, there's this trend going around right now where teens romanticize what it was like to be a teen in 2013. This enhanced attention has made me want to revisit one of the foundational texts of 2010 teendom, which happens to be totally relevant to the whole driver's license conversation.
It just covers so much, and it's so real. It's so true. And I didn't need to go to an American high school or go to prom or have any of those kind of experiences to be able to relate.
The 2012 film Perks of Being a Wallflower has kind of reached a legendary status within the ranks of teen coming-of-age films.
I think the young people are starving for a movie like this that validates and respects what they go through. And they're going to recognize themselves in this movie.
Based on Stephen Chbosky's 1999 novel of the same name, the story follows an emotionally despondent teen boy named Charlie, who is navigating the trials and tribulations of high school life in the face of overwhelming trauma. He bears witness to a lot of really troubling things, becomes a sounding board for his older, cooler friends' problems, and writes letters to an anonymous friend detailing all the things he experiences.
There's a lot of universal themes in there, and at its core, it's really a film about finding yourself, becoming comfortable with yourself, and who you are as a person, and relying on your friends,
The movie was popular for a number of reasons. 1. The book was extremely popular, gaining a cult following and being hailed as one of the best ever teen novels by NPR. 2. It had a star-studded teen and adult cast, including White Boy of the Century Logan Lerman, Emma Watson, best known for her role as the girl who wants to rob in The Bling Ring, everyone's childhood Disney crush, aka Cousin Greg from Succession, Tumblr's favorite cheekbones, the actress from Jenny Nicholson's 2-hour Vampire Diaries video, the voice of Tinkerbell, the dude from American Horror Story Murder House, the mom from Ice Princess who hates figure skating and loves math, and Paul Rudd.
Thank you.
3. And finally, the movie was extremely popular because of its soundtrack, and namely for putting a visual on one of the most iconic moments of the novel, the tunnel song. In the book and movie, there's this whole side plot where Charlie's friends, Sam and Patrick, are trying to identify this perfect song they heard on the radio. Because it's the 90s, they can't just Shazam it. But when they finally find it, they decide they must drive through the tunnel in their town, listening to it on full blast. Here's what the book says about that moment. The moment when they're about to drive through the tunnel, feeling infinite as ever from Charlie's perspective. And pay attention, because this will come back later. There's something glorious about that tunnel that leads to downtown. It's glorious at night, just glorious. You start on one side of the mountain and it's dark and the radio is loud. As you enter the tunnel, the wind gets sucked away and you squint from the lights overhead. When you adjust to the lights, you can see the other side in the distance, just as the sound of the radio fades to nothing, because the waves just can't reach. Then, you're in the middle of the tunnel, and everything becomes a calm dream. As you see the opening get closer, you just can't get there fast enough. And finally, just when you think you'll never get there, you see the opening right in front of you. And the radio comes back, even louder than you remember it. And the wind is waiting and you fly out of the tunnel onto the bridge. And there it is. The city. 1,000,000 lights and buildings, and everything seems as exciting as the first time you saw it. It really is a grand entrance. YouTube's resident teen film commentary queen, Trin Lovell, has my favorite take on why this scene is so significant.
Please, everyone, no matter what age you are, you need to do this because it is a fantastic experience. Go with people you love deeply and go through a tunnel because it is with your favorite song. It's an amazing feeling and I truly recommend you guys do it. But for legal reasons, that was a joke because I definitely think you're not legally allowed to do that.
If you search Tunnel Song on Spotify, hundreds and hundreds of playlists pop up. People, specifically teens, have undoubtedly tried to create the tunnel scene thousands of times over in suburbs all across the United States, and probably in towns all over the world.
It's called movie magic. You want to know what happens when real people drive around hanging out of a sunroof? Yeah. Decapitation.
And the tunnel is one thing, right? The wind in your hair, cars speeding past you, that feeling of euphoria as the lights rush past your eyes at the speed of sound. But the song is what sets the mood. And some songs are designed to elicit this feeling, even without the tunnel. Listening to those songs can transport you right to that moment where Charlie and his friends felt infinite, standing in the back of the truck bed, arms outstretched, and screaming like hell towards the city skyline.
Red lights, stop signs, I still see your face in the white cars, front yards, can't drive past the places we...
But wait. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's back up a bit. There are two crucial parts to any tunnel song: cars and suburban sadness. A brief history of car songs. Question: do you have a favorite song to play in the car? This is mine.
We're never done with killing time. Can I kill it with you?
It's 400 Lux by Lorde, and it's a song about driving through your neighborhood with a good friend. Its changing lyrical rhythms match to the twists and turns of going up and down hills and back roads that only the locals know. The ethereal instrumentation makes you feel like you're floating, and the song just feels suspended in nostalgia, you know? Like time ceases to exist between its beats. But this is my absolute favorite line.
You drape your wrist over the steering wheel. Pulses can drive from here. We might be hollow, but we're brave.
It's a song about driving that not only talks about literally driving a car, but more importantly embodies the feeling of driving. Of the tar kissing the highway, of moving through tree-lined streets. The image in your head is not of the car, but of driving, of traveling, of discovering, of remembering.
I like it if you stay.
Nowadays, our favorite songs to listen to while driving are about the journey. They're about the feeling, the motions, the emotions. The car is the vessel that gets you from point A to point B, and the music makes the road a little smoother. But this wasn't always the case. Cars started to become widely available in the United States around the 1920s thanks to Henry Ford, but teenagers weren't really the ones driving them. If a family had a car at all, they'd only have one. It wasn't until after World War II when it became more normal for teenagers to go to school and have a social life, versus going to work or to war, that teens and cars really became synonymous with freedom and social class in the United States. That's why movies set in the 1950s and 1960s have a heavy emphasis on drive-in culture. Cars were mobile hotspots for teens to act reckless away from the watchful eye of their parents, and the open road was as good as teenage Valhalla. But when car culture came into fashion, the music wasn't as, well, artistic as the car songs we have now.
Is that yours? I wanted a better set of wheels. Besides, girls dig sharp wheels, man.
Right now we'd like to show you how the Beach Boys go about making a record. When we're ready to sing, we step up at the microphones and it comes out something like this.
This is Little Deuce Coupe, released by the Beach Boys in 1963. These teen geniuses wrote this song about the 1932 Ford Model 18, which is, you know, a literal car. The song is basically Mike Love on lead vocals bragging to a girl about his car and explaining in excruciating detail all the parts of the car, how fast it can go, and all these little mechanical details, basically just how in love he is with this vehicle. This is a car song. Straight from the era of drive-in movies and drive-up diners, driving around with friends after school, picking up girls on Friday nights and driving them back home to sneak back into their rooms on Saturday mornings. Oh, and my personal favorite part of the song? When Mike Love brags that the car is also 100% paid off because there's one more thing, I got the pink slip, daddy. We love a man who is fiscally responsible. When asked why they started writing songs about cars alongside their hits about surfing, scourge of the Beach Boys' legacy and connoisseur of very bad novelty hats Mike Love said this.
Our surfing songs did great. Surfing USA was #1 in New York and LA, but the car songs, the flip sides, Shut Down and 409 and Little Deuce Coupe, those songs had wheels on them. You could figure, okay, the coast, surfing. Everybody else is landlocked, we figured. Cars.
Now don't get me wrong, he sucks and I hate this, but he was kind of right. Unlike the 1960s California surf trend, car culture did not go out of fashion, and in fact, continued to thrive with international prominence because of, like, big oil. But hey, car culture inspired this iconic Beatles hit. Baby, you can drive my car, and baby, I'll love you. In the 1970s, Queen takes the car love just a tad too far for my taste. But around the 80s, we start getting that good shit, where cars in motion become a metaphor for escapism, like in the iconic song Fast Car by Tracy Chapman.
Remember when we were driving in your car, speed so fast I felt like I was drunk. The city lights lay out before us and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder.
And if that's a little too metaphorical for you, there's always this gem. Okay, but seriously, the act of driving is a teenage rite of passage, and music has quickly come to canonize that act to represent something more. Chris DeVille of Stereogum said about driver's license. The song turns an adolescent rite of passage, learning to drive, into a short story worthy of a YA soap opera. Rodrigo and her beau had once dreamed of the freedom that would come along with her license, but now that she has it, all she can do is cruise through his neighborhood longing for what once was. Teen angst and the suburbs.
My God, are we gonna be like our parents?
Not me. Ever. It's unavoidable. Just happens. What happens when you grow up? Your heart dies.
Who cares?
I care.
The second ingredient in the makings of a tunnel song is teen angst. Now, where did teen angst come from? And I don't mean the direct source like, oh, my parents just don't get me. I'm talking large scale here. What conditions are in place in society that produce the complex cauldron of emotions known today as teen angst? Like I briefly mentioned before, teenagers in the United States started getting access to cars after World War II, which is coincidentally when two other very important things are created: the suburbs and teenagers.
You're tearing me apart!
What?
You say one thing, he says another, and everybody changes back again!
That's a fine way to behave. Well, you know who he takes after.
The quote-unquote teenage didn't even really exist in the way it does today until post-World War II. Soldiers were coming home from war with the promise of economic protection from the government, which led the government to create planned housing neighborhoods outside the cities, also known as suburbs.
We had to build houses for people to live in. We had to build a water system and a sewer system. We had to set up a police department, put in roads, and erect streetlights so that people could feel secure.
And the suburbs gave us boomers. According to Encyclopedia.com, music and movies were powerful before World War II, but in the post-war world, the children of that baby boom generation grew up to form an enormous teen market. In the 1950s, the advent of television on a mass scale gave adolescents an additional outlet for their own entertainment, much of which featured music tailored to teens' tastes. For the very first time, youth culture in America was its own distinct culture.
Without the joy of nothing! Having nothing builds character!
Teens loved cars, rock and roll, not getting drafted into the war, and thinking about death. No, like this was totally a thing, emo before emo kids even hit the scene.
Do you have any special advice for the young people who drive?
Take it easy driving. The life you might save might be mine. You know?
The infamous death of James Dean and countless local news stories of young people dying in like freak vehicle accidents literally created the teen tragedy genre of music. The most famous example of this genre is the 1959 hit song Teen Angel by Mark Dinning.
Just sweet 16, and now you're gone. They've taken you away. I'll never kiss your lips again. They buried you today.
This fascination with teen death also came from fear-mongering about the city and quote-unquote urban life. In an attempt to keep the rebel youths in line, migration to the city was discouraged for multiple reasons, a large one being the supposed rampant violence and crime that ravaged the city's streets, with not a single friendly neighborhood Spider-Man to save them. Parents clung to the safety of the suburbs, and teens were bored out of their minds running into their high school enemies at the local frozen yogurt shop. And thus began the movement of teens just wanting to get out of this town that's best embodied by the emo and pop-punk music of the early 2000s. The death and tragedy of Teen Angel morphs into
You could slit my throat, and with my one last gasping breath, I'd apologize for bleeding on your shirt.
Okay, that example is a little dramatic, but you get what I mean. The suburbs became the default setting for middle-class American life. And tale as old as time, teens tend to hate anything their parents love. And the coming-of-age narrative of escaping the shackles of suburbia is born.
I want to go where culture is, like New York,
did I raise such a
or at least
snob?
Connecticut or New Hampshire, where writers live in the woods.
Get into those schools anyway.
Mom!
You can't even pass your driver's test.
Because you wouldn't let me practice
The way
enough.
that you work, or the way that you don't work, you're not even worth state tuition, Christine.
My name is Ladybird.
Well, actually, it's not, and it's ridiculous.
Call me
because your name
Ladybird
is
like
Christine.
you said you would.
A penchant for teen nostalgia, teenage heartbreak, and uninhibited yearning is why we keep writing books and movies and music and making art that pulls at these specific traumatic heartstrings. And that story changes depending on who is telling it and what it's trying to say about being young at a specific moment in time. The 50s had fear of teen death at the hand of the crime-filled city. The 2000s had Bush-era distrust of government and nationalism, which they were right about. And when we get to the 2010s, an era defined for better or for worse by social media, the music itself is aesthetically evolving. Teen Pain and Suburban Sadness are packaged up in a synth-sealed box, tied together with a neon bow.
I just wanted it to kind of capture the feeling of teenage heartbreak in the suburbs, which has kind of been my experience.
Olivia's influences. When Driver's License first came out, critics were quick to catch on to Olivia's musical influences. Brittany Spanos of Rolling Stone said the track was reminiscent of Lorde's melodrama. The lyrics and detailed storytelling are all from the Taylor Swift School of Music, with the young star channeling Swift's Fearless, where the then 19-year-old was balancing both her dreams of a fairy tale romance and the way her vision of that fairy tale was quickly souring. Like Swift, Lorde, and all their heroes before them, Rodrigo was able to create something moving and relatable without losing the unique specificity of her storytelling that makes you feel like you're watching a movie of her life play out in your earbuds. If you're a pop music fan, these comparisons were immediately obvious. Within hours of the release, TikTok mashups of Driver's License with Swift's Getaway Car and Lorde's Greenlight were already going viral. And I mean, Olivia's also very, very vocal about her musical influences.
Indy Yellett, she was Lorde's sister. She's like, me and my sister love your song, and I am such a big Lorde fan, so that was also surreal. I am the biggest Swiftie in the whole world. I like tweet about her all the time, and just like post stuff about her, just like organically, because that's how I'm feeling as a 17-year-old girl. Like she went from country to pop, and she does both like beautifully. I'm obsessed with her. She wants to get like a little baby 13 somewhere on her hand. Like, oh, that's sick. Oh yeah, this is like a Taylor Swift tattoo. Like, I don't know if that makes me too much of a crazy fan.
Olivia's artistic influences are a direct result of the ethereal pop that sprung up like wildflowers in the early 2010s, popularized on Tumblr and canonized by music critics. Lorde, like Olivia, was only 16 when she had her first #1 and received rave reviews from publications like Pitchfork. But I'd argue that artists like Lorde went from indie darling to pop music icon because of websites like Tumblr and the rabid, aesthetic-obsessed community on the website at the time. You know, those same people who were romanticizing perks of being a wallflower. It was me. I was the people.
I like how it's like weird and dark. It's just different than everything else we listen to on the radio.
Lorde lyrics were plastered over neon gifs and wistful coming-of-age videos, which then associated her sonic aesthetic with a visual aesthetic. Same goes for artists like Lana Del Rey, but more importantly, alt-Tumblr icon Sky Ferreira, whose frequent co-writer and producer Daniel Nigro also co-wrote Driver's License. Where's the album, Sky?
The girls are bored and want some goddamn music, specifically from Sky Ferreira today.
To me, the most exciting and liberating part of Driver's License is the bridge. Throughout the whole song, Olivia's vocals are restrained, slowly climbing up the scale during the chorus, releasing in a brief belt, then reeling back to quietly recite the line,
You said forever, now I drive alone past your street.
But the bridge is where Olivia's vocal finally breaks free. A euphoric chorus of her own voice echoing through the speakers, reciting some of the most heartbreaking lines of the song.
I'm so blue, no we're through, but I still fucking love you, babe.
It's alright, I need to hear that freaking bridge again.
That moment where the production breaks, shifts gears, and launches forward into a whole new speed is a hallmark of Daniel's songwriting. You hear it in the verse to chorus transition of Sky Ferreira's You're Not the One, Carly Rae Jepsen's When I Needed You,
Sometimes I wish that I could change, but not for me.
and from the chorus to bridge in Heather by Conan Gray, which are all songs that Daniel co-wrote. So it all works like this perfect storm. It's teen heartbreak and suburban sadness, which are all classic tenets for a song to capture your heart. There's the car of it all, which is a moving metaphor for coming of age and moving through life as everything seems to pass you by, and you only have so much control over where you're headed. There's the aesthetic influences, which directly impact the art made by Olivia and those of her generation. And there's the production partner, who by this point is already an expert in turning vulnerable moments into triumphant, melodic, melancholic masterpieces. And so, we return to the tunnel. The makings of a tunnel song. And the radio comes back, even louder than you remember it. And the wind is waiting and you fly out of the tunnel onto the bridge. And there it is. The city. A million lights and buildings and everything seems as exciting as the first time you saw it. It really is a grand entrance. Olivia Rodrigo's grand entrance onto the music scene is so in line with the song itself. It's a sweeping announcement to the whole world that there is an artist here, ready to be unleashed, delivering something both new and familiar, timeless yet groundbreaking, spilled soul woven into a resonant chorus. In the book, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, the tunnel song that Charlie and his friends struggle to find is actually Landslide by Fleetwood Mac, which is weird because that song was very popular and those kids claim to be really into music. In the movie, however, they changed the tunnel song to Heroes by David Bowie, which again is a super popular song. But author Stephen Chbosky defends that choice, saying, "Landslide is a beautiful song, and I would have loved to include it, but it's a very soft ballad. The problem was when we got to the tunnel song, I just thought, we need something that's not soft. We need something that's driving, that's epic in nature, and Heroes was the perfect fit. I will put my head on the Bible and say, in the early 90s, David Bowie was the Let's Dance to me. He was that guy. The whole 70s Bowie, because I was more into grunge, I came late to him. Listen, if you say to me, the kid's not knowing Heroes, it's not realistic. I will cop to it. Anyone who has a bone to pick, I can't argue, but I swear to God, it was real."
Sorry, what you were saying?
Anyway, I agree that tonally Landslide is much softer than Heroes, but emotionally, they're on a similar sadness level. Here's what makes the tunnel scene in the movie so special. The song has this triumphant arrangement, and Bowie is singing with so much bravado that it's so inspiring. But when you listen to the lyrics, they're actually super tragic. Bowie himself said that he was inspired to write this song because he imagined a couple who was split up by the Berlin Wall. That's pretty powerful stuff. So symbolically, Heroes is a song about seizing the moment with someone you love, because you are well aware that your time with them is running short. As Charlie and his friends drive through the tunnel, they're screaming over lyrics that reflect on temporary happiness, ephemeral youth, and the moments where everything feels like so much that all you want to do is lie down and let it wash over you. That's how it feels to listen to Driver's License. It feels like that temporary burst of anger and sadness and the rush of remembering love and loss after a heartbreak. The song is so popular because it is a type of song that comes once in a generation. Maybe a few times if we're lucky. It's a song about someone capturing that emotional lightning in a bottle and setting it off like a firework, making you want to scream it at the top of your lungs. The business success of Driver's License has a dozen moving parts. Olivia's Disney career, the alleged co-star drama, the clapbacks, the backlash, the headlines, the streaming records. But when you strip all that away and focus on the music and how it makes you feel, it's something so familiar, isn't it? It's this feeling, epic, fleeting, momentous, significant, and knowing that it could go away at any moment. That's why the song ends quietly, with Olivia's vocals struggling to climb back up the same scale she'd been traversing through the entire song.
And I just can't imagine how you could be so okay now that I'm gone.
Long story short, teen heartbreak and suburban sadness will always be tools for crafting a pop hit. But it's the colors that you paint with them that turn a plain canvas into a one-of-a-kind work of art. You can drive down the same streets your entire life, but if you find that one song that makes the drive worthwhile, you'll start to see those same streets a little differently. And there it is. The city. A million lights and buildings and everything seems as exciting as the first time you saw it.
I watch these religiously, so thank you so much for having me.